With the schedule dropping for the Houston Texans, I can't help but to think about the too early win total and exciting matchups that all Texan fans should be ready for this upcoming year. Plus, a little bit of fan mail Friday to close out the week. Let's lock in on the Locked On Texans podcast.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
From H-Town to your town, this one is for Texan fans all around. I'm your Locked On Texans host, credential media member, and Texans football analyst, John Some Sports Guy Hickman. Thank you for making the Locked On Texans your first listen of the day, for being a part of an everydayer, the group that we love, and being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. What does a too early win total look like for the Houston Texans? Can Houston get over the 10-win ceiling or even be a top seed in the AFC? Is that a reach? Newcomers to the division, including the best prospect we've seen in some time. Rematches, Houston aims to get some get back on. What are the most exciting games Texan fans should be up and ready for in 2025? And a little bit of fan mail and YouTube comments to close us out and take us into the weekend. When you have a 7 playoff team type of schedule, 7 teams on your schedule made the playoffs last year. Some tough defenses, some tough offenses, and the 18th toughest schedule. It does leave room for concerns on whether or not the Texans will finish above 10 wins, or if their floor is worse than that, right? I've seen the concerns. I've seen the comments where some fans feel like they just didn't do enough. Was the Houston Texans enough? And so what I wanted to do today was just put up my too early win-loss record for the Houston Texans. I'll get it up right now for those that are watching, for those that are listening. I'll break it down for you. For the Houston Texans, they kick off their season against the LA Rams Sunday, September 7th. I have that as a loss. I just think that game, with everything that's new about the Houston Texans, that will be the game where they'll face some early adversity, where we will see the Houston Texans hopefully make the adjustments that they need to make to prepare themselves for the rest of the 17 weeks that follows week 1. But the Rams are a very good team. The Rams are a damn good defense. The Rams have Matthew Stafford. The Rams have Sean McVay. The Rams have a lot of things that I think can give Houston some problems. Now, that doesn't mean they can't win that game, and I can't wait to tell you guys about my swing games, but the Buccaneers in week 2, I have that as a win for the Houston Texans. Actually, I have 3 wins in the row for Houston. The Bucs Monday night, and then back-to-back division wins against the Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans. Sunday, October 5th, the game right before the bye week, the Baltimore Ravens, I have that as a loss. Then they go into the bye week. That'll be the perfect opportunity for the Houston Texans to make sure that they're checking everything. They check engine light not on. Everything is still riding smooth. The performances are where they needed to be. The evaluations are fair and correct, and they don't have to make any drastic changes, because if they do, they have time to do that. They come out of that against the Seattle Seahawks. And again, I have 3 wins in a row for the Houston Texans. So for the first half of the season, I have Houston right now currently at 6-2, with their 2 losses being up against the LA Rams and the Baltimore Ravens, 2 playoff teams. Those 2 teams are tough. The Texans have yet to really get a hold of the Baltimore Ravens, and with them taking on the LA Rams and everything that they have going on, bringing back Matthew Stafford, upgrading that team, I think that'll be a tough outing to kick the season off with. Now we go into the second half of the season. Guys, I have the Texans losing back-to-back games to division teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans. I know you guys are probably killed me for that, but Tennessee swung a game last year. No, Jacksonville did not win a game last year. That was a mistake that I made on the show early in the week. However, both teams did a great job of upgrading. Though I do believe the Houston Texans did a good job of upgrading, those division games always get tough, no matter who they play. Division games with those division rivalries, and we know that Tennessee is looking to, bring it to the Houston Texans. We know that the Jacksonville Jaguars are really looking to stop being a punching bag for the Houston Texans, right? They're going to give it their all. Those games will be the two games where they got a feel for one another in the earlier part of the season. But I think you guys have, I think y'all will like how I end off the season for the division game. The next two wins I have for Houston, the Buffalo Bills and the Colts. Thursday night against Buffalo, I have that as a win for Houston. I have this Sunday night, November 30th, as a win for Houston. I have the Chiefs as a loss, Sunday, December 7th. I have the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Chargers, and a season sweep of the Colts to close out the year. I currently have the Houston Texans at 12-5. I think if all goes right for Houston, that is their perfect ceiling. That is the ceiling where they got the offense together, the defense, and we have not really talked about the defense here on the show a lot, but with the additions that Houston made, bringing back guys, getting guys re-signed, of course, you hope that the guys are healthy, ready to go, making some additions, bringing in C.J. Gardner-Johnson. The defense could very well be much better. And think about the defense with a better offense. They don't got to be on the field as much, right? Some of those numbers that they're giving up won't count against them because they have a chance to breathe because the offense is out there establishing drives and they're looking good. The defense got better. The offense is where the concerns come in, where the second thoughts come in for Houston, which is mainly why I have them losing against the Rams. And guys, the Buccaneers was the high-powered offense last year, so I think that'll be a great game, not only for the defensive side of the ball for the Houston Texans, but also offensively if they can keep up if the Buccaneers pick up where they left off last season. But I have that as a win for Houston. Now, my swing games for Houston, and this is just realistically speaking, the Bucs is a swing game where I can see Houston losing. The Chiefs, that is a swing game where I can see the Houston Texans getting some get back. The last time they played the Chiefs, like last two times they played the Chiefs, it came down to a stale offense not giving Houston what they needed in the playoffs consistently, and then Houston having to rebound from the horrific loss of Tank Dell and that injury, who caught the touchdown to keep Houston close. He goes down, and nobody was able to kind of pick up the slack, right? And so that is a game I can see Houston finally getting their get back on. The Denver Broncos is a game where I can see Houston losing. And I'm also going to add this. They could very well sweep the Jacksonville Jaguars. They could. Like, I have them sweeping the Colts. I think Tennessee will be a tough game because Tennessee just always brings that drama, that heat to the front door of the Houston Texans. But they can sweep the Jags. So 12-5 could very well be 3-13, 10-7 again, right? That could very well be a reality for the Houston Texans. What I like about Houston, they get some adversity early on in the season to make adjustments, which is the quote unquote one of the superpowers that we are expecting to see from Nick Haley. I want to hear you guys' schedule predictions. Do you think Houston can go 12-5? No, I don't believe Houston will go 17-0. Let's be realistic here on the show. I don't think Houston will win 9 or less games. I think 10 will be a good floor for them because of the additions that they made, because that defense is retooled, and I would say that they're better, right? 10 wins for the Houston Texans, I believe, is the floor. Now, the win totals, the ceiling and floor for the win total in 2025, like, that's fun. And a lot can change. But based off of the additions other teams made, there are some exciting matchups that I believe all Texan fans should be ready to watch this year, whether it's a primetime game or just a regular old Sunday afternoon game. I know you guys are probably tired of those, but that's what happens when you get embarrassed on Christmas. the Texans got some matchups that I believe will be exciting for 2025. So stick around as I talk about the exciting matchups for 2025 and those games that you should all be glued to the TV to watch. And if you're not glued to the TV, hopefully that's because you are glued to your seat in the NRG Stadium because you bought your ticket in time, online, or the app with Game Time, right? That's the too early prediction. Make sure you go check out Game Time right now. They got the tickets on sale that you guys will absolutely benefit from. But also with Game Time, if it's not the Houston Texans that you want to go watch, if you may want to go out on a nice date with your woman, you may want to go to the theater to watch a play or a musical or a concert near you. Game Time has you covered. And the best part about Game Time, one of the best parts about Game Time is you can see exactly where you're sitting before you buy, no surprises. The app makes it ridiculously simple. 2 taps and you're done. That's it. And with the Game Time guarantee, you know what you're getting, the best deal. And if you find a better price in the same row or section, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time has it all. They make it easy and it's user friendly. That's probably what I love the most. It's not hard to use the app. It's not hard to find what you're looking for because it's very user friendly. You'll find great seats for as low as $100 thanks to the exclusive discounts Game Time offers. And with the Game Time guarantee, again, your tickets are 100% authentic and will arrive on time. And you'll always get the best price with fees included. So what you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back, H-Town, Locked On Texan fans worldwide, to this episode. Before we dive into intriguing matchups where you should be out of your seat for rooting for your Houston Texans against some potential stars and potential storylines. How did you guys feel about the Houston Texans schedule video? Dropped on Wednesday night. They did the whole if you guys don't know, that's from back in the day. How did you feel about that? Let me know in the comments, and also give you guys an update. Thursday afternoon, Panthers head coach Dave Canales confirmed that the team will hold joint practices with the Browns in Charlotte ahead of their preseason game. He also says he's open to holding joint practices with Carolina's other preseason opponents, which include the Houston Texans. Do you guys want to see a joint practice where we can get some more insight into the Bryce Young and CJ Stroud debate? Both of those young quarterbacks will be going into year 3. And also the Carolina Panthers, a team that's revamping themselves. They drafted a damn good receiver in T-Mac. I think he'll be a valuable weapon for that offense. The Texans drafted a damn good receiver in Jaden Higgins. He'll be a valuable weapon for this offense. And so there'll be some good matchups out there on the field. Now for the 2025 season, the intriguing matchups you guys should be out your seat for. I've already mentioned, and I talked about this on the Thursday pod, about week 1's matchup, the game against the Rams. I think that would be a very exciting game for the fan base to not only get a gauge on where this team will be, where they're headed, to get a look at the improvements that were made or the attempt to improve on the areas that were bad for the Houston Texans in 2024. You also just get the first look at year 3 CJ Stroud, who will be operating in an offense that, knock on wood, we all believe will be favorable to his strengths and won't limit not only Stroud from a quarterback perspective, but the offense from a skill set perspective. So I think week 1 will be a matchup that everybody, and then also the first game of the year. So that's going to be fun altogether. I'm wondering where the watch party will be at. Y'all let me know. Week 3. Listen, some of you guys just don't believe in Travis Hunter. Okay. You have every right to feel that way. Travis Hunter is one of the better prospects we've seen coming to the NFL in a very long time. Won the Heisman, put up good numbers at a cornerback, put up good numbers at wide receiver, did both at a high level. Yeah, I'm excited to see Travis Hunter. And this is why. For week 3 and week 4, because week 4, Tennessee, Cam Ward. I'm excited for both of those young men. Number one, the AFC South has been boring. It ain't really been much of nothing but CJ Stroud and 12 out there, and Derek Stingley, and essentially the Houston Texans. That's been the AFC South for the last 2 seasons. And I know you guys can feel where I'm coming from, but because before the Texans got those guys, remember the 4-13 Davis Mills years. Remember the 4-13 Deshaun Watson. Like, so Houston is now benefiting from a weaker division, and now the division just added, I believe, a superstar. I believe Travis Hunter will be a superstar. That guy just breathes, eats, sleeps, studies football. I think he'll be able to play on both sides at a high level for the short amount of time, but that short amount of time will be electric. And this coach has been working out with him since high school, said he is really a receiver. He just plays DB because he's just that great of an athlete. So now you get a superstar in the division with Travis Hunter, my opinion. Let me know how you feel in the comments. And then also you get a quarterback in Cam Ward. This ain't the Will Levis Tennessee Titans. This ain't your grandpa's sweet tea. No, this Tennessee Titans, this got some kick to it. I think so. This is a good quarterback. This is a quarterback that Tennessee have known for so long that he was going to be their quarterback. He was probably the most boring number 1 overall pick that we've had in a very long time. Maybe since, what was that, Jake Matthews? Or was it Luke Jokel went number 1? Remember when tackles were going number 1 in the NFL? So in back-to-back weeks, Houston gets their first look at the division's next superstars, the guys that we'll look at the battles between Cam Ward and CJ Stroud. We'll look at the battles between Travis Hunter and Derek Stingley, or Travis Hunter and Nico Collins. We'll look at those battles because they just drafted 2 very good prospects, and one of them I think is generational for real, and that's Travis Hunter. And then week 5, the Baltimore Ravens. Why should Texan fans be out their seats? Well, I picked it as a loss. I left it as a loss. But let's just say the Houston Texans win that game. Where does the perception lie now for this franchise? They have yet to be able to beat the Baltimore Ravens in a meaningful game. And when they played them last year for Christmas, my goodness. I mean, they got embarrassed in front of Beyonce. The Beehive was leaving at halftime. That's how bad it was. So I look at the perception, the early perception of this may not be the same Houston Texans. That's different against the LA Rams. That's the NFC. The Ravens will be a big dog in the AFC until Lamar Jackson either retires or goes to another team. So that's an exciting game for the Houston Texans fans to be ready for. Also, week 9, Denver Broncos. Now, before you guys say, man, anybody worry about no Denver Broncos or Bo Nix, hear me out. Hear me out. 2023, who was the best cornerback in the NFL? Okay. PS2, right? Yeah. 2024, who was the best cornerback in the NFL? Like the last 3 years, it was Sauce Gardner. In 2022, the rookie year, Derek missed time, came back in 2023 after missing time, closed off that season, and played cornerback better than anybody in the NFL. Didn't get all pro honors because of the time missed. All right, cool. But we now know that he's better than Sauce Gardner. 2024, all pro. Who else was an all pro? So I look at the storyline of who's going to leave this game being the undoubted CB1 in the NFL. and that is week 9. So time would have passed. They played some games. Up until that point, the Houston Texans would have taken on some very good receivers at this point. By week 9, they would have taken on Puka Nacua. They would have taken on Mike Evans. They would have taken on that receiving core. They got a bunch of guys. They would have taken on Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. They would have taken on Zay Flowers. They would have taken on some guys, man. They would have taken on some guys. So I'm excited for that game for the Houston Texans. That would be November 2nd, Denver Broncos. And then the Raiders game. The Raiders game. Listen, Houston, especially when Foley wasn't on the field, they really allowed good running backs to, have their way with them. Jonathan Taylor, the Indianapolis Colts, that was the main reason why they were able to kind of keep it close for the Houston Texans against the Houston Texans last year. But Ashton Jeanty, I think, is a running back that just will make people get out their seats, especially if the Raiders' offensive line is performing well. He'll be able to make some guys misses, take on that contact, create more yards, but also, and this is late in the year, this is typically where you start seeing some of the playoff teams, which is who we believe the Houston Texans will be. This is where you start to see them play playoff football. And if the Raiders are not a good team, middle of the pack team, they are still going to try to make sure that the highlight of their year is their first pick in the 2025 NFL draft has a shot to win Rookie of the Year. Hopefully he's healthy, and they're going to give him the ball. They're going to let him tote that rock. So they'll get the opportunities to play a very good running back come out of college, and I'm excited to see what does that look like. The Texans take on some good running teams this year. I don't know if the Raiders will be a good running team, but they added a damn good running back, a guy that a lot of people felt like should have been the Heisman winner over Travis Hunter because of the numbers he put up. But I think that'll be a game where it's at home. Raiders fans travel deep from Vegas and Oakland or wherever they are. They travel deep, so they'll be in the NRG. We should be able to get some good excitement, maybe a couple of fights. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But the energy in the NRG stadium should be rocking at that point, and Jeanty will be one of the premier rookies in the 2025 season. Whenever we come back, when we come back, Fan Mail Friday to close out the show, to go into the weekend. Don't go nowhere. We got more Locked On Texans, so lock in with me. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen today. Now, for your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting. The draft is over, but the roster moves and news never stops. Host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Before we close out the show, it's Friday. Mail time. We're going to head to the comments to my man, the Bubbas 22. Will the Texans offense carry the team? This was on the 2025 Texans schedule reveal week 1 disaster or dreams fulfilled podcast. Bubba said no to that question. Then he also followed up with, also, you seem to be, speaking of me, interested in that Detroit game. Maybe as a Patriot fan, you didn't see that as a win, but as a Texas fan, we balled out. Also, look up the stats on how many games were won by one score last year. That's not a Texans thing. It's an NFL thing. To that comment, I would say, and we had a very good, respectable exchange in the comments, but what I was saying was, after that game, media members, locally, nationally, the tone of where people viewed Houston and their realistic chance to win a Super Bowl, because that was a talk for Houston last season. Was it premature? Maybe, but that was a talking point for the NFL media last season. Can Houston push it to the Super Bowl? Can Houston push it to an AFC championship game? That was a talking point. After Detroit, and this is where here on the show now, man, I like to be very real and transparent as possible. After the game, causing 5 turnovers, 5 interceptions on Jared Goff, making Jared Goff, who at the time had a legitimate MVP case, making him look as pedestrian as he looked, and still losing that game under primetime lights. That was where the perception of the Houston Texans it changed for a lot of people. That's just what it is. Yeah, Houston won some one-score games, and Nick Caserio even mentioned it. I think he said like 70% of the games in the fourth quarter came down to one score. So it was an NFL thing. But how many of those teams did not win their division? How many of those teams were just competitive, but they didn't come in with any AFC Championship or Super Bowl hype around them? So I can't talk about those teams. I'm only talking about the Houston Texans. And again, we had a very good, respectable exchange in the comments. I think that Houston should not have that. Because of that perception, things changed. But also that game really just put a big beam on the issues that some people neglected throughout the year. Some people called it early in the year. If you guys remember, if you've been listening to the show for a while, Cody Davis came on this show, and for about 8 days straight, the defensive line beat up the offensive line today. And such and so wasn't out there practicing. So their starter's not out there. That was a talking point for over a week straight. And for some people, they just glad right over it. Even former co-host Sarge came on the show and said everything really started to be brought to the light against Chicago. Chicago just wasn't ready to win that game, and Houston's defense played out of their mind. So that's what I would say to that comment. But again, thank you for the comment, man. I appreciate it and the back and forth. My man G Desert Dude, he's based out of El Paso, said thank you for all towns. A lot of fans are all around, not just in the city of Houston. He's based out of El Paso. Very good analysis on the new schedule. Latino community over here appreciate you and your work. Well, let me tell you something. There's a dude. For you, my name is Juan. And we are family. We are all bulls on parade, man. But shout out to you for watching the show. Certified Texan. And this was another good back and forth between Texan viewers in the YouTube comments. Said, I am worried the first game could provide a blueprint. David DY4IE said, I'm looking forward to the challenge of playing a great team right off the bat. Steel, sharpen steels, bring on the swarm. And then Reginald Rager, 2143. It was a great back and forth between you guys. You sound scared of me. What you worried for? Don't every team already knows that our O-line is sorry? This is from Jackson, Christopher Jackson, 1898. So you guys had a good back and forth. I think the concern for a lot of people is not even concern, just the reality of not knowing what they're getting. Who's the right guard? Can Houston afford for Ed Ingram to be the right guard? Can they afford for Tomlinson to be the right guard? What does the center situation look like? And a lot of people have their favorites. Some it's like I've seen the fan base kind of torn a little bit between Jared Patterson and Juice Scruggs. The fan base now has who will be a training camp favorite. Every year we get another training camp favorite. Darius Henderson, who will finally get a shot to prove 6'4", over 300 pounds. Like, can he be the guard for the future? He's been talked about a lot on the airways, on 610 radio by Nick Caserio. He's been getting love on social media. So between center and right guard, nobody knows. Nobody knows, and that is scary for a team that offensive line was god-awful when we knew who the starters were going to be. So it's okay, guys. Like, I don't want us to get to a point where everybody's neglecting what reality is. The reality is the Houston Texans are still in the I don't know. They're still in the I don't know, because if they were not, we would not hear things like we'll evaluate, we'll get competition, and we'll put the best five out there. Thank you guys for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. I appreciate the very good back and forth that you guys provided in the comment section on this Fan Mail Friday going into the weekend. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Follow the Locked On Texan page on Twitter as well at Locked On Texans. We'll be back next week with more Texans talk. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe. And as always, peace.